This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Conversations That Make a Difference. I'm here with some familiar faces and some not so familiar faces, and we'll get into a conversation with them in just a moment. But we know, anyone who knows me knows we usually start with a prayer. So let's say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose. And all of God's great universe is indeed conspiring in our favor. And together we say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
So welcome again. I just want to let everybody know that this show, Conversations That Make a Difference, airs live every first and third Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can listen to replays on YouTube or on Dream Vision 7 Network, where you can go to dreamvision7radio.com and you can play the replays on your phone, in your car, on YouTube, and you can even ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. So we have a lot to talk about today. So let me introduce these lovely people who are before you. I'm going to start with the leader of the pack. We're going to call her Andi Buerger. As you may know, she's an international speaker, author, and survivor of child sex trafficking. She advocates for globally for victims of exploitation. She founded Beulah's Place, rescuing 300 plus at-risk teens, and later co-founded Voices Against Trafficking. And uniting voices worldwide to defend human rights is her mission. Her books and internationally distributed Voice of Courage magazine empowers survivors and honor human rights champions. In 2025, the Voices of Courage television series debuts, I think 2026, I think I made a typo there, right? And she's expanding her mission to inspire justice and hope. You can read more about Andi and her mission to help those who are victims of Voices Against Trafficking and to educate those who are looking to support those who have been caught in this web of lies and all the things that go along with Voices Against Trafficking.com is where you can go to find out more. We're going to talk to the co-founder, the incredible Blanquita Cullum. The Honorable Blanquita Walsh Cullum is an award-winning broadcast journalist and former Senate-confirmed governor of the U.S. Broadcasting Board of Governors, where she chaired major international broadcasting networks, inducted into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame, and named Champion of Radio. She has emceed the National Memorial Day Parade in Washington, D.C. for 20 years. I read that. I was like, wow, this girl's got some experience. She's president and co-founder of Voices Against Trafficking, and she also produces International Reporters Roundtable and serves as an on-air media coach while expanding The Hard Question as a podcast. Welcome, BQ. It's good to see you. And we have also, you are muted, my dear. We have also Eric Caron, a former U.S. special agent, and there you are. He led global covert operations combating transnational crime and rescuing children from trafficking, and co-founder, and now a special liaison for law enforcement. Yeah, I can talk today at Voices Against Trafficking, and co-founder of Stop Child Soldiers Foundation. He consults internationally on human and wildlife trafficking. Recipient of the U.S. government, the U.S. Attorney General Awards. U.S. Attorney General's Award for National Security and of the U.S. and Interpol citations. And Eric is the author of Switched On, sharing gripping insights from his distinguished career in national security. Eric, welcome. I want you to know I had the honor and privilege of meeting these people in person with big hugs and great conversations while we were together at the gala, which we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, we missed Chris Meek at the gala, but we have him here today. He was at Ground Zero on September 11th, 2001, and in its aftermath founded Soldiers Strong, a national nonprofit dedicated to help veterans take their next steps forward in donating revolutionary medical technologies to VA medical centers across the country. He is also the founder of Frontline Foundation, which advocates for the health and rights of America's first responders. He resides in Stamford, Connecticut with his wife and 3 children. So welcome everybody. Here we are again. So first we're going to go to Andi and talk about the big event that you had last weekend. And I was privileged to be there and be a recipient of one of the awards. And I want to just have you just give a little bit of information as to why people were awarded these incredible. I was like, I'm lucky I kept my tears inside while I was up there receiving this.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. So I just want you to talk a little bit about Voices Against Trafficking, what they do, why you had the gala celebrate Voices Against Trafficking, and also raising funds while awarding people for what they have done. I'm still not sure what I did, but okay.
Well, let me help you out with that, Teresa. Well, first of all, Voices Against Trafficking, we're like the hub of a wheel. We're the hub, and the spokes are individuals, they're corporations, they're nonprofits. Every spoke that joins us makes our wheel stronger so that we can, have more traction with what we're trying to do with prevention, education, inspiring action through public awareness campaigns and materials like our books, our magazines, our music CD, and soon the television program. So that being said, sometime back, BQ and I had talked about, wouldn't it be great if we could, honor people for being voices, everyday voices, may not be celebrities, but they're doing the work and they're doing such great things. But then COVID happened. And then after COVID, prices were outrageous for venues. And so we finally were able to pull off our inaugural gala. And so we wanted to honor as many people as possible. But we're going to be having these every year. So some of the folks we couldn't get to, they're going to have an opportunity. But here are the categories. We wanted to honor people for leadership, for innovation, for philanthropy, and for media. And clearly, BQ, Chris, Eric, all fall, and you, because you are 2 of those categories, all fall into that. And so these are people that don't seek glory for themselves. They're not looking for, the kudos or the things that the world normally, looks for. These are people that do it because that's their calling, that's their passion, and many of them already have another job or they already have a nonprofit. So they keep their identities, but yet they still serve. And I'm honored to have these folks right here on our team, as well as many others. So thank you for that. But the gala was awesome, and we look forward to celebrating more people as we go along.
Thank you, Andi. Yeah, it was really nice, and standing in front of the room and taking charge of the entire, most of the evening anyway, was the incredible Blanquita Cullum, Ms. BQ. You want to talk a little bit about how you are involved in Voices Against Trafficking and where you're. I know you've won lots of awards and your expertise in radio and shows and whatnot, and you were seamless. You didn't stumble over anybody's words like I just did with your years of experience. You're muted.
No.
No.
There you.
Uh-oh. We cannot lose our voice. We cannot be voiceless.
Voice. Not sure what's going on, but okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Eric. Eric, welcome again. Good to hear
always
you.
Always a privilege and an honor. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Let's talk a little bit about your role in this insanity we call life. And thank you for giving me a copy of your book. I can't wait to read it. Been a little busy since that event.
Yep.
And so let's talk about what you do and how you support Voices Against Trafficking.
Well, let me first say that it's an honor to work with Andi and her entire team. You know, the work that she does is incredible. She doesn't ask for money or fame. She just wants to save lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's incredible. And so my role is to try to help her do that. And that as a liaison to law enforcement at the local, state, and federal level, what I try to do is pass information to or from Andi, and in the hopes of rescuing children, in the hopes of prosecuting bad guys. And let me just say that Andi had the courage to allow me to highlight in her book, Voices Against Trafficking, an investigation that I was involved in that showed how the U.S. government was, in fact, aiding and abetting a bad guy, a U.S. defense contractor.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. And Andi had the courage to allow me to highlight the wicked investigation, as I call it, the wicked investigation in her book. And I'm grateful to Andi because not very many people would have the courage to, if you will, shed light on the U.S. government and its involvement and aiding and abetting bad guys. In this case, it was a U.S. defense contractor. And she had the courage to allow me to highlight that investigation in her critically acclaimed book, Voices Against Trafficking. So I thank Andi and I thank you for all that you do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Voices Against Trafficking. Courage is contagious. And let me just mention that word courage is a quality that each and every one of the people before you have innately in who they are and how they be in this world that is upside down sometimes. And obviously, from what you just said, Eric, so much is hidden from us as the general public, whether it be government, whether it be organizations that you would never imagine that this might be something that's going on, but yet it is, and it's running rampant. It's like a virus that runs rampant. So thank you for all that you do. BQ,
I'm going to talk. You working?
Yeah, hello.
Well, look out. I'm dangerous, kid.
Yes, indeed. I think we're all dangerous to an extent.
And so what I told you when you introduced me, you didn't get the whole name. It's Maria de Guadalupe Blanquita Telvina Walsh Cullum Donna la Segunda. Anybody that needs somebody in my family is in my name.
Wow.
That's why
me.
People, they have that saying, "What's in a name?" Wow, Blanquita.
You got that right, Bishop Donna. I'm telling you, and all that good blood's running through me. And when I talked to you know how I met Andi? This is the great thing about radio. I had Andi on my show on The Hard Question. Now, look, I had a great family. And here I'm hearing about this sweet young child. She was trafficked from the age of 6 months to 17 years old. I'm horrified. And I think that's what brought us all together here. I mean, everybody on this screen and our friends that have a conscience, that have a moral purpose, saying, wait a minute, we can't stand by and not try to make a difference for good. If Andi, a survivor, can get out there despite all the horror that happened to her and save lives, well, you got to count me in. I got to join her. I got to help her. So that's how it kind of came to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for all you do to support Andi's mission. I'm going to say collectively our mission, because I feel like like part of this. I feel like I've been adopted into this family of courageous warriors. I'm going to call you warriors, because this is a war against trafficking. So thank you. Chris Meek, we missed you.
Yeah.
I missed you.
Let's talk a little bit about your role in Voices Against Trafficking and what you bring to the table. And everybody brings something to the table. And maybe one day we will all sit around a table and have a meal together. That would be amazing, right?
That would be awesome.
We will next year at the event.
That's right.
Well, like BQ said, so I met Andi almost 5 years ago now. I had a fledgling podcast. I was about 4-ish months into it, and her PR person for her first book had reached out to the network and said, here's her bio. Is this somebody you'd like to have on as a guest? And like most Americans and most people, I knew nothing about human trafficking. I had my head in the sand on it. Never thought it was an issue because it never happened in my neighborhood. I never saw it. Didn't know anything about it. Wouldn't happen around my white picket fence. And had Andi on, I think it was January, February of 2021.
Yeah.
And like BQ said, trafficked at 6 months by family members. Right. To the age of 16, 17. And just eye-opening and jaw-dropping. And so had her on and heard her story and read her book. And I thought, oh my God, like the word courage has been used here a lot. The courage and the strength and the determination that Andi and so many people like her have and have had. I thought, well, how can I not be part of this? Mm-hmm. And I always say, on my podcast, that I use the show as a platform for my guests. Well, I have the privilege of being able to select my guests. And so I select my guests based on issues that I think are important that people need to hear. And one of those issues that I've chosen to sort of be a champion for is human trafficking and sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of people on there, survivors, people who run houses like Andi started with Beulah's Place, to talk about that and to put that spotlight on there that people either don't know about, like I did, or like most people don't want to talk about it because it happens in their neighborhood and they just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I had one guest on who was a high school student and in a very affluent community in Naples, Florida. And one of her best friend's dad was trafficking her through all the dads in Naples, Florida.
Oh my Lord.
And right before the show today, I just literally Googled human trafficking. And in less than 24 hours on Google News, there are 8 stories on here, anywhere from San Jose human trafficking operation foiled by San Jose police. Sail World Cup efforts tackle sex human trafficking concerns amid travel influx. 9 charged with human trafficking in Georgia child sex predator sting. Santa Clara County prepares for human trafficking uptick. Former bail bondsman sentenced for human trafficking for exploiting male inmates in Indianapolis. And it goes on and on and on. And so that's why we all are here. We all have this common thread, this common bond of putting a spotlight, raising awareness, shouting from the top of the highest mountain we can find to put Andi Buerger on our shoulders and let her shout from her lungs out. She's got her voice back.
Oh yeah, baby. I'm a redhead.
To help those that can't help themselves. And so that's why we're here.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. You know, that's the thing. Shout from the rooftops. Make sure if you see something, say something. You know, that's the whole thing. If you can do something, show up and do it. You know, there's all kinds of ways that people can participate in bringing awareness to this horrific, I'm going to call it an industry, because Eric, didn't you say that this is $150 billion industry last time we were together here?
We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars every year. We think of human trafficking just for sexual purposes or for labor, but organ harvesting as well that I mentioned. We're talking kidneys alone are worth $10,000.
Wow.
So times that by X amount of numbers worldwide. So organ harvesting, and then we have children being exploited as soldiers, and of course the whole mining of gold and diamonds, and of course Sierra Leone and the Congo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars every year that is being profited by criminal enterprises as well as terror groups. I mean, terror groups around the world are exploiting humans for various purposes. It might be child brides. It might be child suicide bombers. So, we have to look at it holistically, that it's more than just sexual, that it's more than just labor, that it's much more evil, if you will.
Evil. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to have to go to break right now, but we have one more person who snuck in on us over there. And I see you, Bishop Donna Hubbard. We're going to introduce you as soon as we come back from the break. We will be back in just a couple of minutes with our guests talking about Voices Against Trafficking and how to become more aware of what's actually going on where this subject is concerned. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Are you one of the many people who said, someday I'll write a book, but don't know how to get started? Many wannabe authors have begun with the same question and are now published by Authentic Endeavors Publishing, a multi-imprint hybrid publishing company. Whether you're writing an autobiography, a memoir, a kingdom book, a children's book, a business book, or an anthology, we have a place for you. Visit www.AuthenticEndeavorsPublishing.com for more information or to set up a 20-minute consultation. Your title of published author is within reach. Born Able exists to highlight and normalize the humanity, worth, and abilities of infants and children born with complex medical conditions. We write, illustrate, and publish books for these children and have featured over 1,000 children throughout the world. Our videos and posts have been viewed over 100 million times on social media as we strive to showcase these amazingly abled kids and fight relentlessly for equal medical care, regardless of diagnosis. All proceeds from Born Able books go directly to the Born Able Foundation. To nominate a special kid to be featured in a Born Able book, go to www.bornable.org to learn more.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love.
Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back, and welcome back again. We're talking, of course, about human trafficking, and we have Bishop Donna Hubbard has joined us. And let me read a little bit about her. Donna Lynn Hubbard, daughter of Barbara Nao Watkins and Charlie Hubbard, endured abuse, addiction, and trafficking before encountering Christ while incarcerated. She was paroled in 1993 and founded Women at the Well Transition Center, helping women rebuild their lives. Today, Bishop Hubbard holds degrees and certifications, serves as a flight attendant for American Airlines, and continues to inspire as a mother, grandmother. You're not a grandmother. I don't see that. She's gone. She didn't like that comment and off she went. Oh, technology.
We're getting closer though. You got the intro.
Yeah, I got the intro. Yes.
Something is going on. Yeah, something's going on with my internet. You know, I live 4 blocks from the airport, and every time a plane crosses over my house, I get this message that I'm on Southwest internet or I'm on Delta's internet. I'm like, what is going on? So I decided to log in with my phone. Chris, I think you remember that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I decided to log in with my phone. So I hope you all can hear me now and see me.
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Absolutely. So as I was saying, you don't look like a grandmother. Nonetheless, a great grandmother whose life story reflects resilience, faith, and transformation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So what brings you to this party besides your past?
Well, you know, it's they say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
In some places, but I'm grateful that I know the right people in this battle. As the bio said, I was released from prison in 1992. However, I had started the journey of fighting against human trafficking while I was still in prison and realized that I felt alone. I felt like it had not happened to anyone but me. And I felt like nobody would understand it until I started talking to other women in prison with me and realizing that our stories overlapped, that we had more in common than we knew, you know. Right. And so I started Women at the Well Transition Center really because I did not want women like myself to end up in the same situations I did when I was released, with no resources, no connections. I had family, but really my family were the ones that did not want to be bothered with me at the time. You know, I just got out of prison. So they were not thrilled about saying, okay, we need to be around her. In fact, at that time, we were like lepers. It wasn't enough that you had been in prison, but if you had also been trafficked in any way, whether it was sexually or any other form of trafficking, you were like a leper, you know. But when I was introduced to trafficking, I was a young woman with young children, and I was a flight attendant. And I wanted to go back. When I came home from prison, of course, I thought that could never happen again. I'm never going to have the opportunity to do the job that I love doing. And so I gave it a chance and I applied to be a flight attendant again. It's what I know to do. It's what I love to do. And to be honest, I serve. I have the heart of a servant, and that's what brings me joy. And so, of course, to me, it's a wonderful way to serve. And I traveled around the world because when you got 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids at home, you know, you're looking for a break every week. So that was my break. That was my we call it staycation. Mine was my workcation. So every time I went to work, I got a chance to sleep in a hotel, you know, go visit different places. But I was introduced to Nancy Rivard with Airline Ambassadors International, who had been a flight attendant, actually, and a manager at American at one point. And Airline Ambassadors International heard about me and asked me to come on board as first as an advocate and then as a survivor myself to begin to work with survivors and helping them re-enter the system. And so it was through Nancy Rivard that I met Andi. And when I thought about my story, every survivor has an amazing story to me, but Andi has not just an amazing story, but she has she is a true warrior.
Yeah.
She is a David among Goliaths. When I think about all the things that we have to overcome to be able to really be seen, to be heard, Andi is that giant. She has made sure that people cannot ignore the issue of human trafficking, but she's also made sure you can't ignore us as survivors. And I am that radical preacher. I'm not your average contemporary bishop. I'm not. And I tell them that from the beginning. So don't expect that from me. I'm that voice that's going to be crying in the wilderness. I am that woman at the well that ran and told everybody, come see a man. I am the one that's going to stand up and tell people when I'm in the Senate or in Congress, and I'm going to say, you're wrong. You're wrong. And when you're ready to be right, let's talk. I have no problem. No, I have no problem telling them, because I let them know I've been through hell. Now, if you can go through what I went through and still have a voice and still be heard and still be willing to tell your story, then we can talk. But until people are ready to get real and to be transparent, then I call it out where I see it. Andi gives a lot of us as survivors a platform to do that. Voices Against Trafficking is not just this little organization that decided to take up the cause of human trafficking. It really is that radical organization in the midst of very contemporary and conservative agendas. Voices Against Trafficking is not only survivors, but very powerful people who are speaking out against exploitation of any form. So since then, anything, how do you say no to Andi when she asks you to do anything? I mean, anything. My no comes out like, sure.
Thank you.
Donna, are you available? And I'm thinking in my head, are you available to do? In my head, I'm saying, Lord have mercy. What, right? My sister passed away 2 weeks ago, and I buried her this past Friday. And so all day today, and since then, we've been trying to organize all of her property and belongings. And I'm thinking at that time, when Andi asked me, my sister had not passed, but she was very ill. And so when I thought about, I've got to do this, no, I ain't going to say no to Andi. I already know. That's like, you point your finger at yourself in the mirror and you go, you know what's going to happen. You made your commitment to Andi. And see, one thing about Andi, if you say no to Andi, Andi's going to go and pray about it. And when she come back to you, you saying yes. Like I said, the no comes out as sure. Absolutely.
It's kind of like the Steve Urkel character. Did I do that?
Right. But the wonderful thing about it is in Voices Against Trafficking, we as survivors do not feel alone. We do not feel that we are in this battle and in this fight alone. We are a family. We work, we support one another's agendas and missions. As Andi said, there are other organizations that are represented in Voices Against Trafficking, and all of us support one another in any way that we can, whether it's a word of encouragement or actually showing up at an event to support other survivors and other advocates. Because in this battle against human trafficking, we need everyone. In the same manner that human trafficking does not differentiate between age, gender, race, ethnicity, your political affiliation, it does not matter. In that same way, we as survivors support one another through various ways, but especially in Voices Against Trafficking, we support one another without consideration of all of those other issues.
Well, Donna, now I love that you called your transition center Women at the Well. And now I know that phrase belongs to you, because you are the person who will tell anybody about it. I could just tell from our few minutes of experience with you right now. Get out the way. Here comes Donna. She has a message for you. Yes. Indeed. Absolutely.
Yes.
And Teresa, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to let you know, Bishop Donna is going to be our representative at a very important celebration of life. We lost one of our members just before the gala, Reverend Dr. Betty Lancaster Short, who is into human rights long before it was popular, marched with Martin Luther King, and was on deck with us from the very beginning in November 2019 on Capitol Hill when we launched Voices Against Trafficking. So, when she talks about we support each other, that's definitely one of the ways voices will be represented, on the East Coast. And Dr. Betty's wish was that her celebration of life would be all about creating greater awareness of human trafficking, especially in communities where the kids are going missing and nobody seems to care.
Yeah,
so, and these women and all of us together, we're going to make that difference.
Yeah, especially the woman at the well. I don't know if you've seen the video. I'm trying to think of who the musician is, the singer. Olivia Lane is her name, and they use a scene from The Chosen, and they have him at the well with the woman who comes to fill the jugs, and the message is just so endearing and so powerful that you can't forget it once you see it. You can't forget it once you see it. And then she just went, the minute that she turned from that well, she just was telling everybody. And
well, you have to remember that the woman at the well had been seen by everybody, but nobody wanted to approach her. She was like a castaway, She went to the well when it was hot in the middle of the day. That's what it says. And that's a time when you don't go to the well. You're married and you go early in the morning to get the water for your family, or it's in the evening as the sun is setting. The virgin girls, the handmaidens, they would go to the well so that the available men could see these young women. But this woman was scorned by both parties, and so she could only go at one time, and that was in the heat of the day. And it was in the heat of the day that she went there and met a man who could change her life. It wasn't just about any man, because can't you just imagine this hooker running into town and saying, "Come see a man," and they're looking at her like, "Come see a man? You've known every man." She said, "But not like this one. This one told me about myself." And I think that's the amazing thing, is that when I got saved, it was a motivation. It was personal, but it wasn't what he told me about other people, what traffickers had done to me, what the system had done to me, what my family had done to me. God gave me an understanding of what I did to me, what was done to me, and not just what was done to me, but he gave me an understanding of who I am. He showed me myself. And when he showed me myself, that gave me the power I needed to do the things that I needed to do to get back Donna. And so I just like that woman, I run and tell everybody, come see a man. And that man is not just about a physical being. It's about come see justice, come see righteousness, come see truth, come see what is moral, what integrity looks like. Come see, let's look together and do something that is right. And that he not only told her about herself, but that's what set her free. And in human trafficking, it really is what we acknowledge about ourselves that sets us free.
Amen.
And may I say a word?
Yes,
because,
absolutely.
One of the women that was brave, that was a questionable woman, was the first woman to find out that he had risen. And that was Mary Magdalene.
Yes,
the other thing is this. We got guys on this here. You've got like Chris Meek, who I really admire, because you know what, there are a lot of, and Eric will tell you about this too. And this is a commonality, even with what they've suffered, that other victims in different capacities have suffered, because all these victims of human trafficking have PTSD. So to be able to stand up and give them the ability to find a way to save themselves and make a difference, to help others. A voice like Chris Meek and his program, Soldier Strong. Eric, what he does in his other life, and it was a special agent going out there trying to save lives and find places where people are being threatened. And right now, I'm going to tell you real quickly, there is a bill in the Senate right now, and it's Bill S-817. That's a bill that is trying to stop human organ harvesting. Now, passed in a bipartisan way, and it's basically for those people that were fallen gone, that had their organs that were harvested. Now it's going to the Senate. We can't get one Democrat senator to co-sponsor it. Now explain that to me. That's insanity. So what we're all about, and you all have mentioned it, helping those that have suffered brutal kinds of terror, and torture, and persecution, and trafficking. Every one of you is a voice and influences. Let's see if we can help on that bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, we need to go to our second break. I can't believe this hour is flying by.
Oh my God.
Back. I think one of these times that you're away, you're going to land up on one of those planes and give this message to everyone on board. Yes, you are.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we have to go to our break. Just have 2 minutes, and we'll be right back, and we'll continue with you, Blanquita. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Do you have an uplifting personal story to share? The Daily Gift Book Series began with a daily gift of gratitude and a daily gift of hope, both available on Amazon. We're looking for people like you to share a story in our continuing series. Kindness, peace, inspiration, and generosity are just a few of the upcoming topics in the Daily Gift Book Series. Your stories matter, and they make a difference. Visit www.dailygiftbookseries.com to find out more on how to submit your story for one of the upcoming titles.
With the hustle and bustle of today's world, how often do you practice gratitude? How can you make it a habit? Gratitude is more than putting a smile on your face and being thankful for the roof over your head. It's expanding your perception and finding gratitude for every opportunity and every challenge. Gratitude is a feeling of connection to things higher than yourself, to God, and to others. We focus on light, positivity, and connections. When we join our grateful hearts together, the power of community attracts more people and even more to be grateful for while making a difference. A grateful heart is infectious. Share it. Join our Grateful Hearts community on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/The Grateful Hearts Community and watch your blessings blossom.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back. And before we go to you, Blanquita, I just want to say this is the series, a daily gift series. Gratitude, hope, kindness is out as well. And so is a daily gift of peace. And the foreword was written by none other than Andi Buerger. So
It was an honor.
Great stories in here. Next is a daily gift of friendship, and then we're going to do either a daily gift of joy, a daily gift of faith. I have an arm's length. When I get an assignment, it's not just for one thing; it's for a whole bunch of stuff. So, and kind of like what all of you were standing for, a whole bunch of things that go into the pot of soup that we call trafficking. Blanquita, I'll go back to you and finish what you were saying.
I brought my sign.
But
don't forget S817 if you can help with that. And I was gonna before I went to the break, I was just gonna tell you an old rock and roll joke, and that is lose your breath, lose your turn.
That's awesome. Well, Teresa, you mentioned PTSD and things like that, which is a huge issue because that's usually the one thing that is latent in getting treated or getting identified. And I know Chris has an amazing technology in his work with veterans. And Chris, I don't know if you can explain it. I don't have the bullet point, but a way to work through trauma, which I hope will eventually spill over into the work that we want to do with victims and survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Andi. And so there's software developed by the University of Southern California focused on post-9/11 veterans. And if you think about first responders, veterans, people in those high-stress situations, they don't want to admit that they've got some mental health issues, that they've got PTSD because they could lose their promotion, their gun, their rank, their benefits, etc. And there's obviously stigma attached with that. And so this software was developed to help reduce that stigma. And they call it a video game that heals. And so it's virtual reality technology. And right now there are 14 different scenarios or worlds, as they call them, anywhere from a forward operating base in Iraq to a Humvee going down the road in Afghanistan. But the one I like to highlight is there's one for military sexual trauma. And you can't tell from my little Brady Bunch square here, but I'm 6'3", 220. And when I tried this, you're in a bar talking to somebody, and all of a sudden your eyelids fade to black. And 3 or 4 seconds later, your eyelids slowly start to open with your predator on top of you. And part of my French, that scared the hell out of me. And so this was, military sexual trauma, but it's sexual trauma generically. So my nonprofit has secured the IP licensing rights from the University of Southern California, so we can further develop that for generic sexual trauma. Nice. And so we're working with another company in Southern California to help develop that, along with other different scenarios. It could be for mass shootings in a mall or a movie theater, other things like that that just cause and trigger trauma. It's something that's top of mind. It's priority number one for me to develop that, because whether it be, again, at a bar, at a bus stop, at a plane, at an airport, at a movie theater, wherever it may be, this happens. Nobody talks about it. They bury it. They deal with it in their own personal way, and everyone's afraid about it. And you've got people here like Donna, like Andi, who are, again, from that mountaintop, screaming at the top of their lungs, telling their story and saying it's okay to not be okay, and having other ways of treatment other than your traditional group therapy or laying on the couch and talking to your therapist, and going through different ways of, hitting that trigger point and letting you work through that scenario in a safe environment with your therapist, are ways to help people move forward.
Yeah. And staying with that train of thought, that's awesome. And that could probably help in so many different ways, not just, not just what we're talking about, the sexual trauma, but any other kind of trauma that causes PTSD, because as you said, it's rampant. So Eric, I have to ask you, from your standpoint and what you did, and have been through, how can you must be suffering from PTSD from a different perspective somewhere along the line. How do you get through what you see that you have no control over, that you can't do really anything about except arrest the bad guys or, take them out, whatever the case may be. But how do you deal with that on the day to day?
It's a great question. My Marine Corps father instilled in myself and my twin brother and my 5 sisters the importance of strengthening the mind, body, and soul every day. So it's vital for me every day as an agent and even post government work to strengthen the mind, body, and soul, because we're inundated with evil every day. And we want to have a coat of armor around us to be able to deflect that evil, and through strengthening the mind, strengthening the body through sleep, eat, and exercise, the C philosophy, I call it, and strengthening the soul through faith. That's the only reason why I'm still here, because I suffered from PTSD and I thought about suicide myself because of all the trauma I experienced as an agent, and then in my personal life as well. So, we're, people, first responders, victims of abuse, military officials, you're seeing so much trauma in your professional life, and then in your personal life, it becomes too much. It's a balloon that continues to expand, and then it blows, if you will. So through how I survived being an agent for 25 plus years was through the simple but effective philosophy of making sure the mind, body, and soul, equally important, is strengthened every single day.
Yeah. Great advice. And Chris, you were at 9/11, right? So I just went back to my hometown for a class reunion, a high school class reunion, and one of our class members was lost in 9/11, and then another one was a captain in the fire department. And I spoke to him shortly after the event happened, and he said to me, Teresa, I found myself face down in that white powder, whatever was left of those buildings, and my whole life changed that day.
Yeah.
Not just from the standpoint of what I do, but who I am to my family and everything else. What kind of experience did you have with that? Because it's not just trauma about yourself, it's trauma about the loss of all those people, and having been part of something so devastating. How did you get through all of that?
Yeah, great question. It took me 17 years to realize I actually had PTSD. Mm-hmm. And from I'm in financial services, in my entire career, I've worked within 3 to 6 blocks from ground zero. Mm-hmm. And it was 9/11 of 2018 was my first time to actually go back to ground zero. But I didn't think about it. I went back on 9/11 and I couldn't get there because of the ceremony. And so everything was barricaded off. Mm-hmm. And I've never had hyperventilated before, but I felt like that's what was happening. I assumed that. But I'm like, well, it's okay because I've got New York's bravest, New York's finest on the other side of me. So if I do, it's okay. But so I went back to my office, and it was May of this year, 2025, for the first time I ever went and actually touched the memorial. And I had to for a magazine article and a photo shoot. And the two words I use are relief and peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I remember, so my wife also worked downtown, but she was further east. And so I knew she was fine. But I was covered in that white ash. I was inside a building when the first tower collapsed. I was a block south when the second tower collapsed and was running. I had the escape plan for my team in place in terms of going south, hugging the East River. So if something happened, you jump into it to take cover. I still have my shoes to this day because they were covered in the white ash. And that white ash is not just the towers, but it's human remains.
It's human remains. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so it took me going through a leadership program with 33 others, 30 of which were global war and terror veterans, to realize I had PTSD. And I'm not over it, but I'm addressing it.
Yeah. And how do you get over something like that? How do you get over what you've seen and experienced, Eric? How do you get over being trafficked from a young age? How do you get over that? You have a process that you have to find a process that works for you. Eric, I love that.
Can I add something?
Yes. Just 1 second.
I just want to give you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the sleep, eat, exercise. And I was just going to ask you, Donna, what would you add to that from the spiritual side of the whole thing? And
wow, thank you. Thank you. Sorry for jumping the gun, but there's something I just really want to share with everyone. And it is really something that was given to me, not only in the process of me recovering myself from trafficking, but in the last few months dealing with my sister passing and watching her. And that is the one thing I can tell you that I had to have, I think people need right now, is strength for the season. And by that I mean not necessarily the season of fall, the season of a lot of people and in the world. We need strength for this season of our lives, and we're all in different seasons of our lives. But I know the strength of the season.
Donna, do you want to reconnect?
Yeah, it's hard. There's something going on.
You can't hear me?
Now we hear you.
Now we can.
The plane flew overhead.
Yeah, you had
and
Southwest over your
I'm
head.
on my. Yeah. Can you hear me better?
I hope they're not charging her baggage fees.
Can you hear me better now?
Try it again, Bishop Donna. Try it again.
But can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. So let me hurry through this. Strength, in order to gain strength for the season, there are a couple of things we need. The number one thing we need is, first, we have to be willing to stretch. We've got to be willing to stretch out of our comfort zones. We got to be willing to stretch out of what is normal, what is common, and look at doing things differently. The second thing we need is to sacrifice, and that sacrifice sometimes is a sacrifice of yourself. It's a sacrifice of different things.
There she goes.
Master.
Oh, that was so good too.
The other thing I recommend for one real quick second is that we learned even recently with the passing of Charlie Kirk. We don't have to be afraid to pray. We don't have to be afraid to talk about God. That God's with us and that we have to rely on God. I'm a Catholic. I say the rosary. A lot of people have other ways that they go about praying. But right now, we're in a battle between good and evil. It's not between Republicans and Democrats. It's between right and wrong. And we all need to pray.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And when Teresa was talking about David, it took one stone, but that stone carried a lot of faith behind it. And so that's what we're trying to do as Voices Against Trafficking, is to be that stone. With all of us together, we have the faith that we can make a dent, that we can turn things around. We'll never get rid of human depravity. We won't. But we can definitely curtail the voracious appetite for this kind of thing. And one of the things I like about these two gentlemen is both their books are about motion. So Eric, switched on life, being in the present, doing things. And Chris's book, Next Steps Forward, is, okay, from here, where do I go? How do we take that next step, whether we have PTSD from anything or whether we've been traumatized in some way? You could lose a loved one. You could be in a terrible accident and be traumatized. So all those different things. But collectively together, we are family. We are united in that particular situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And earlier we talked about people having a servant's heart. And I think that every single one of the faces I'm looking at here has a servant's heart and does what they do because of the fact that it's right. It's right to do good with other people and to serve them with whatever gifts and talents that you've had. Donna, really quickly, because we have to close, but I heard stretch, sacrifice. What else you got, sister? Tell me you're frozen again. She's frozen again. Goodness. Oh my goodness. So how about this? I'm going to get with you after the show.
She's breaking up.
Yeah, she's breaking up.
It's hard to do. It sounds like a rock and roll song.
Yeah. I'm going to get with her after the show, and then I'm going to put what she says and what Chris said and what Eric said, about how to get through, basically, in the notes underneath the video when it comes out. So I hate that this hour has gone by so fast. I love you people. You bring so much to the table. This is a conversation that's going to continue again. We're going to do this again first Tuesday of the month, which will be November the 4th. We're going to gather with Andi and some guests. Maybe some of these same people will come back again. I hope so. And we will have another conversation and that makes a difference on this topic. And for more information on how to get involved with Voices Against Trafficking, go to voicesagainsttrafficking.com and see what Andi has there for you so that you can be a part of this revolution. All right.
Shameless advertising.
Absolutely. Get the book. Buy the book. And until next time, make sure all the conversations that you are having, whether they are with yourself or with other people, that they make a difference. Count yourself in as somebody who can make a difference. And until next time, take that with you. We'll see you again next week. In 2 weeks, actually. Peace.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our station owner, Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.